All right. So, welcome to the first episode of Breaking the Silence, where we decided that it'd be worth talking about all things trading, life, and business. So, I have myself here, Jason Grigg, and good friend over the last many, many years, Liam Watson. So, Liam, you want to tell them a bit about yourself and before we dive deep into these cool topics we're about to expose?
Yeah, I think we've been friends for ages now, haven't we? We go back to like 2013. I think we've been mates for. So, some of you'll know me. I like to consider myself an OG in the crypto space, been trading since originally about 2014, and then later on down the line, signed up with one of Jason's side hustles and sort of elevated my trading from there. But I think people might want to know how our relationship originates, Jason. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, but I'll go. I'll start back even before I got into trading. I think our early days, even if we just start back when we first connected, back in Telstra days. So working for Telstra
You would.
telecommunications in Australia, and man, what an experience working in the retail space. I never thought it'd be something that I would have fun with, enjoy with, but I think it kind of pushed me into that space where interacting with customers and people on a daily basis and helping them solve problems to get them solutions to what they wanted was, who knew where that was going to go? And we kind of became good friends out of that space, and selling phones and iPads and deals and stuff like that to help the everyday Australian customer. Who would have thought it would have turned into trading, right? So I guess going back from those days when we first connected, I started in the Telstra space. I then got into financial planning as a financial planner. Thought that was awesome. Again, connecting with people, dealing with money. And that's where I kind of came across the idea of trading, right? Like a financial planner. And this is where, don't get me wrong, I know financial planners have their space, but I was an uneducated financial planner. I mean, we're talking about breaking the silence, so I'm going to keep it real and raw and hide nothing. So talking about being a financial planner, uneducated in the space where it's crazy to believe that you could take a 2 week course to become a financial planner and then go and give people financial advice. That is just something that's unheard of. But hey, I knew nothing about the industry. I didn't know that people had to go and get a 4 year degree. Well, you could be a financial planner that's got a qualification at uni and have 4 years of understanding the financial market and financial services and, insurance and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. Or you could do a 2 week course through an online course or in-person course and express that and be licensed after 2 weeks, as long as someone would take you on board as a financial advisor. I'm
It's
like,
crazy.
how is that even a thing that you would then entrust me into looking after your finances? Where at the time I was very young. Sure, I'd made some really good money working at Telstra, but I just bought my first house. I had my own personal debt. I had, a car loan. I had all the traditional stuff that you'd have as, a growing up adult. But what did I know about it? And this is kind of it ties into everything that we're going to talk about with trading and coaches and exposing the industry, because I thought I was doing something to benefit based on what I'd been taught, but at the same time, internally, I felt like a fraud. Like, how can I tell someone how to do something if I'd never done it myself? How can I tell someone about buying, investment properties? How can I tell them about, investing their superannuation in a certain way? But in reality, that's what we were doing. We were giving financial advice because we were licensed to talk to people about, how to make money with their money that they'd probably worked all their life with. All my clients at the time were like, 50, 60 years old and saying, Jason, as my financial advisor, what would you recommend that I do? I'm like,
But tell us what you do with your 2 weeks training course.
tell you what to do with that 2 week training course. So I'm glad that the industry's kind of changed a little bit, but as far as I'm aware, you can get your RG146, which is what I got as my qualification to be a licensed financial advisor under someone's AFSL as an authorized rep. You pay 2.5 grand a month, and you can go and sell a licensed product. That shit's crazy. Like that is just, it still blows my mind till now, but that's the industry that it was. So leading in from that, funny enough, I work for a guy who started his own financial planning business. And over a course of, 12 months, 18 months of working for him, he decided that he was getting greedy and wanted to rip me off and owed me, 250 or $300,000 worth of
Yeah,
commissions
I remember this. Yeah, yeah.
that he never paid. And, shit hit the fan. And, just I walked away from it. Like I was just like, it was just going to be no good. And I decided, no, I'm going to walk away from that. And from there, though, one thing I'm glad that why I obviously got into trading was when I was being a financial planner, dealing with people's superannuation and moving funds and money from here to there. It's pretty hard to get it wrong because you're only dealing with ETFs and, stable things. You're not actually trading leveraged money. So it's moving funds around. I was like, so if I move this money from here to here and I make, 5% for the year, I've now made the customer, $50,000, $100,000 potentially, right? Based on the sums that they had. So that kind of led me into, is it possible to make money like this on a smaller level? And then I got exposed to the trading space. And how did I get exposed to the trading space? By searching how to make money online. Boom, Forex, blue screens, blue blue wins, blue profits, Mercedes, Lamborghini, everything like that. And that was my exposure. And as a young, hungry guy, I was like, man, I could do this. I could get involved in that space. And that kind of brought us to, where we started, where I started trading and losing a hell of a lot of money. A lot of people, and I guess that's what I don't like about this space, is that there is so much promise on the front end where people just go, hey, you can make millions of dollars trading, but they don't tell you that it's going to take you lots and lots of losing to get to that point. It's also going to take you lots and lots of capital to get to that point. But hey, that's us breaking the silence. That's us talking about.
Jason, I have to say one of the things that I admire about you the most is how stoic you were. Because I remember we didn't keep in touch as much as we should back in the day, but we were on a long distance relationship sort of level. And
Mm.
I remember when we had some pretty in-depth discussions about that whole situation, and you were sort of pretty down about it. And then I remember you telling me you were getting into trading back in the day, and this is sort of like um, one of those things where you lost that initial investment or initial capital, and yet you just continued with it.
Yeah, like
Um,
my taste of the markets was, so all I have to do is create an account and deposit money, and I can make money by clicking a few buttons. This is me, unexperienced, uneducated, no trading experience, and I got a taste. And I think that was the problem. I got a taste of winning. And all
yeah,
of a sudden, my mindset as a hungry trader or hungry gambler at the time,
yeah, yeah.
you press a button and it goes blue and I make money. Man, how hard can it be, right? It can only go up or down. And that's
It's
what
easy.
anybody can make money. It can only go up or down. So when I first got a taste and I remember I was sitting at the beach with Ali and I was like, babe, look, I just made $100 while we're sitting here. How cool is that? And not understanding lot sizes, not understanding leverage, not understanding anything. Just what's 500 to one leverage? What is one lot? What's two lots? Like, what is it? I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I
I
just
didn't even
thought,
know what leverage was at this point, to be honest with you.
and
It was
when I
all spot stuff.
yeah. So I was like, cool, press a few buttons, make some money. I got a taste of winning. I then got a taste of losing. So I'm like, okay. So if it goes the opposite direction, I can lose a couple of hundred. Cool, lost a couple of hundred. Let's start again. So I had my first account, I think it was $1,000. I think within the first day or two, no, be a couple of days, I lost that $1,000 account. Everyone knows what it's like to blow an account. You know, people blow accounts all
Oh
the time.
yeah.
They're unsure about risk management and all that kind of stuff and what's the right thing to do. But yeah, lost my account maybe the first few days and I add more money, right? We want to keep going. We get a taste for what it's like to be a gambler because every trader that's uneducated is essentially gambling. You don't know what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
just taking risk. You just based on your risk appetite, right? So I lost win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. First 2 weeks, lost 30 grand. At this point in time, when I'd lost 30 grand, Ali was pregnant or just I think our daughter was just being born or when I first got into trading or about to be born. So she wasn't working. I just walked out of my financial planning job because my boss that ripped me off. At the time I had $60,000 in my bank account of savings, and I just lost 30 grand of that gambling the financial markets. And nobody tells you about those because when I got exposed to trading, I was exposed to all the rubbish that's on the internet. Hey, high percentage gains. Hey, thousands and thousands of dollars. Hey, Ferrari, Lambo, all this kind of stuff. But I also thought that, hey, it's true that if you give up, eventually you're just going to give up and lose everything. And then you go about your day and go find a job or do something else. But there was something in me that just said, hey, just keep going. You lost 30 grand. What's it going to cost you to get that back? What is it, what does it mean to you? What is, you lost half of your savings that probably took a year or however long to get that 30 grand working a normal job, to the point of I need to find a way to make this work. So I said to Ali, I was like, I need, 6 months. Give me 6 months to try this. I'll be smart about it. And I'll make it work. And that was 2016. Yeah, early 2016, getting into it. And I just decided I want to take this serious. So I literally spent 6 months locked in my office at the time because I didn't have a job, I didn't anything, for about 12 hours a day, looking on YouTube, trying to find ways to make money trading the financial markets. Right. I didn't want to pay. I'm Asian, man. Like any way that I can save money. In the
You
early
raw
days.
dog the technical analysis.
Yeah, I was like, I'll find a way. There's a cheap way to do it, and I'll try and do it. And that actually cost me money, right? By doing it that way. But actually, I got to a point of, okay, well, I'm having, okay luck, winning, losing, winning, losing. And then I found someone and eventually paid to learn. And paid to learn, I can't remember the guy's name, man. It was going back 8 years ago. Um, but I found a guy that had legitimate results. And I'm like, show me how you're doing and what you're doing. And I realized that I was at the point of I can make money doing this as a full-time thing. I just need to continue working on it. And he said, show me your analysis, I'll show you mine. And it's like, what's the difference? I mean, he had a $500,000 account. I was on, I think, 5 grand at the time. And he was like, the only difference between you and me is not your analysis, not the technicals, is your psychology. It's the way you think and feel towards any time you place a trade in the market. It's the emotion that's connected to the money. And I never really understood that until years kind of passed on. Even after my first year of trading and making money, like it came into that second year where it's like, the psychology of trading plays such a huge role in trading that once I understood that, it was 2017. I remember it was December of 2017 and my first bull run. I remember a year prior, 2016, I had a $5,000 trading account. By the 2017, I'd December, I can't remember the exact date, but I'd hit my first $1 million trading in just over a year, right? So a lot of failures throughout the first 6 months to a lot of learning throughout the first 6 months of January, and through the bull run of thing, man, it was surreal. Like having no money, having mum and dad that, just worked all their life. Dad was in the drug squad, mum was a nurse, like just doing the grind. They just worked hard and put their hours into building security for themselves. To me being the first in our family generation to make $1 million in a year was just surreal. Like, and it's just, I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that was a thing. But that's the one thing I realized with trading is that, man, like you can get started, you can lose a heap of money, and you can quit. And that's okay because that's not for everyone, right? The reality of trading is everybody, I believe, should give it a go. At some point, you realize that it's either for you or it's not for you. And it's not because you're not capable of doing it. It's just, you just probably don't have the mindset for it. You don't have the psychology for it. You're not willing to work on that side of trading because that emotion that's connected to the way that you trade is what kind of stops people from making money. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's usually
Yeah, psychology for sure.
it's the greed, it's the fear, it's the worry, it's the concern, it's the am I right or wrong? Is it do I know enough? Is it, every question under the sun gets asked the moment that you place a trade. So
Yeah.
Let's
I
bring
think,
us up to spec from where I was to there. We'll dive a little bit further in, but man, just let's push it back over to you and kind of talk
yeah.
about your
Well,
experience since we met in
fast
Tulsa.
forwarded about several years there, but you are right. Just hitting on the psychology, like the you can have all the indicators. You can paper trade for years. You can do every. You can get all of your the dominoes lined up essentially. But the second that you pull a trigger and there's real money on the line, everything changes. Like it's a whole different psychological experience when you actually pull the trigger and you're sat there, whether it be $100, which doesn't sound exciting, but then when you go up to like the thousands, the 10,000s, and I think my biggest spot trade was like 15 even then. Like now, it's obviously a lot more than 50,000 spot trading, but the first time I did it, I remember like I'm not prepared for this, right? It's experience and going through. But yeah, just rewinding a little bit. So me and Jason, we both come from a humble background of Telstra, and it was my second job in Australia. I've been in Australia 15 years now. I'm obviously English, and we like Jason nailed it. We were selling solutions for customers. And it's the first time I'd been in a job that was performance driven by selling. You had this thing called an NPS, Net Promoter Score. And if you're, and it
I'm
was all
familiar with
about
it. Yeah.
providing the best customer service. And the funny thing is, right, I was a bit of, I was never really that competitive. And I remember jumping on the computer. I was at Morayfield and Jason, I think it was in Townsville. Oh no, no, yeah, you're at Townsville. That's right. Yeah, because I didn't even know if Townsville was at that point. I thought it was like up like northwestern Australian or something.
Yeah.
But and I remember checking the stats because they did this thing called Club Success. You remember that? And it was like a high performance. It was like the top 10 high performing members. It might have been 15 or something like that. But they did a holiday every year. And I was like super pumped and I was getting like, the bosses were loving me and I was getting good results. And I remember checking every single time I would check, Jason Grigg was always at the top. He was number one. I was never number one because I was always chasing Jason and I was competitive. So, but I didn't understand. I just wanted to get number one. And then out of the blue, my manager comes and says, "Hey, mate, you're going to Thailand for a week, all expenses paid." And that's where we actually met. I think I wasn't looking out for you, but I'd
Mm.
say, "Hey, mate, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, hey, I'm Jason." I'm like, "Jason Greek?" You're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I hate you." And I mean that holiday, like that was we became friends straight off the bat. We had a lot in common, and yeah, we hung out that whole holiday. I got to meet Seb, and we went around. We had some great times, and we just stayed in touch after that, didn't we?
Yeah.
And obviously, once we got back to Australia, our paths and our experiences changed a little bit. In terms of trading, I was spot trading Bitcoin. I remember LT. It was always Bitcoin, Ethereum, LTC. So a lot of the time it was like LTC, just spot trading, buying like 5 grand, holding it through the bull market, selling it, and then more towards 2017, I started having a bit more success. I think 2017, it was like I invested like 12,000 and pulled out like 50, 60,000. And then the 2021 was where I really started to find my stride. But
Mm.
yeah, the stuff that Jason was just saying, I remember every now and then we keep in touch. I remember us having like a couple of hour conversation about that stuff that happened to you, and I just found it very stoic that you had all that happen, and yet you continue to press forward, and I took a lot from that. Um, Yeah, my experience obviously differs. So I went from Telstra, learning about sales and solution selling. I went into a government job. I went and did a degree in computer programming, and that's helped me make some NFT projects. And then I actually went into the QPS. I don't know if you remember our chats when I was in the police, Jason. Like, man, I followed like, when you look at jobs and things to a job to be proud of. I don't think it gets much better from an outsider looking in than like a police officer. And at the time, I remember going into my first year and I hated it. It was the most stressful experience I ever had, and the money wasn't fantastic.
Messages I used to get from you of how stressful it was and
Oh man,
how you actually survived doing it and going and
yeah.
yeah,
My
crazy.
blood pressure was that of like a 70-year-old 200 kilogram man. Like it was bad. It was off the charts bad. It's good now, but let me tell you, it was very stressful. And you meet certain types of people. And eventually I just realized, I'm in the wrong place here. And we used to have phone conversations. I specifically remember telling you, I was like, I cry when I drive to work, right? When I say, this podcast breaking silence, and so I'm not exposing anything, but what I'm saying is that, the most sought after job in my circle at that time I had, and I could tell you, for me, it wasn't great. There's people who loved it and people who thrived in that role, but for me, it wasn't. I was crying, and I was having a chat with Jason, and he just said, "Well, how's your training going?" I was like, "Yeah, I do all right with training." He said, "We'll focus on that." And that's sort of the turnaround point for me. I just started focusing more on my trading. I started focusing more on the NFT side, and as you can imagine, 2021 was killer for NFTs. Now it's just it's like a whisper in the
Yeah.
past.
And that's kind of like, which is kind of good about, what we're doing here with this podcast and kind of talking about the industry is because through each of the bull runs and each of the cycles that we have or have had since, well, when I first got started in 2017, 2016, 2017, it's been interesting to see the transition of what's hot in the crypto space, right? It's,
Yeah.
we had projects, then we had NFTs, then we have now we've got meme coins, like, and I guess as a key topic for today is the psychology of the get rich quick deals, which unfortunately is what most people are exposed to when it comes to crypto, right? Like when I first got exposed to Bitcoin, I didn't even know that I was getting exposed to Bitcoin, but it was because of some Forex deal that someone was going to trade for me and he was going to pay me in Bitcoin. And that's how I got exposed. I'm like, so you just send me the winnings through this Bitcoin thing and I get, how do I get the money out? Like, oh, it's digital money. It's like,
Localbitcoins.com.
yeah, you have to go and
Remember
sell it.
those days?
Yeah, localbitcoins.com. You have to go and sell it,
Yeah.
find a way that you could cash it out or someone else would need it.
You
And then
had
you
to
could
meet people on
pay.
street corners
It was
with
crazy back in
cash.
the early
Yeah.
days before all these wallets and stuff made it so much easier, or even that we were exposed to that early on. But most people in the crypto space get exposed to crypto because of some get rich quick deal.
Yeah.
And that actually hurts not only the trading industry, but also hurts the people that are getting exposed to it because, I get it in tough times. What do people want? They want to find a way to make money or as much money as possible. They want to find a way to, if I can make an extra $500 off this deal, that would help me pay for rent or help me pay for groceries or help me go towards a holiday or something like that. So the psychology of the everyday retail investor, the mum and dad investor, is how do I make money as fast as possible? Which is why the trading industry has kind of turned from this is how you make money trading to this is how you get rich as fast as possible. And I'm going to show you how to do that by putting a Lamborghini behind me and luxury lifestyles and cars and all this kind of rubbish. Because then if you see that what is possible, now you're bought into the possibility of what you can get, right? Now, in fairness, if you work your ass off as a trader, you traded, for many, many years and, you made a heap of money trading and you enjoy those things for personal reasons, by all means, buy a Lamborghini. By all means, buy a mansion, go on luxury holidays and everything like that, because that's what you desire. But if you're using that and you don't actually have that, that's the problem with the industry is all these coaches and traders and all these people that, they feel that they need to expose you to, luxury lifestyle and all that in order for you to want to learn from them. And the problem of the get rich quick deals is that that's what's currently happening in the market.
It's
The
been
only
happening for years. Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
happening for years, man, but it's getting worse by the day. And
Yeah.
it's actually hurting the consumer or hurting the retail investors because they keep trying, they keep, jumping into these deals, these get rich quick deals, or put your money here and you'll make X amount, without actually wanting to do the work. And my actual, I released the Traders Edge Club the other day, and it was more about I'm not going to promise you that you can, I'm not going to sell you on the idea that you need to make enough money to buy a Lambo and luxury lifestyle and all that kind of stuff, because that stuff will happen if you earn it, if you don't quit within the first, 90 days. Because the problem is that
The
people
Lambos.
like the people are sold on the idea that I need to have a Lambo if I'm in the crypto space. And if they don't
Yeah,
achieve the crypto, if they don't achieve the Lambo in a short period of time, then what you're offering them isn't real. But the reality is to be a trader, you're gonna have to lose some money. You're gonna have to go through the grind. You're gonna have to work out your own strategy. Even if I'm offering a strategy that works for me, I'm just showing you results based on my historical data that has happened over a period of time. And if it works for me, it could work for you. And the reality is it may not work for you. That's the reality. Is because you
yeah,
may not
yeah.
work on your mindset. You may not work on risk management because you're trying to get rich as fast as possible because that's what the industry has exposed to you.
It
Uh,
comes down to passion, doesn't it? Like if you're not passionate about it, why would you continue doing it? Unless you have a really good why, you know? And
yeah,
just hitting off the stuff with the Lamborghini. I don't know about you, but what I find now is, especially in my circle of friends, like I've got a lot of overseas friends who are into crypto and trade the cycles, essentially the Bitcoin cycles. Within a 5 or 10 minute conversation with somebody, you can very quickly tell if they are wealthy. And just to clarify, because when you say wealthy, people have a different version of what wealthy is, right? So let me just give you what mine is. For me, wealthy is being able to wake up with a roof over my head, being able to eat, drink, and be time rich, and not have to go and do something that I hate every single day, right? That to me is wealthy. Now, wealth doesn't having a Lamborghini doesn't show wealthy. For me, actually shows
I
99% of the
bet.
time it's like a poor understanding of
Yeah.
finance, right? Because it like I think the rule is like something like one play with 1% of your net worth or something like that, right? Or top and bottom numbers. So for me, if you can a wealthy person is someone who is time rich, right?
Yeah.
That I don't know if you agree with that, but like for
100%.
instance, right, like I know, right, with 100% that you're in a really good position, Jason, and yet you don't have a Lamborghini that you're showing off. Why is that?
Well, to be honest, and going back to when I first got into the crypto space and was exposed to the crypto space, um, I thought that was what I needed, right? I thought like,
Yeah,
that was the thing.
find the
Um,
car.
like, but when I first got in the space, I was driven by a material thing, in the sense that it doesn't need to be my image. Like, do I need to appear as if I have credibility by the car that I drive? Like, it's the most stupidest thing that I hate about this industry is because your wealth is only determined by the car that you drive, which I think is bullshit. Like
Yeah,
Warren Buffett drives a 1980 something, sedan,
yeah.
and he has zero,
Toyota or something, isn't it?
like, the misconception of social media means that if you have a Lamborghini, you must be doing right. Well, the reality is that you can go and hire a Lamborghini, you can go and stand in front of a Lamborghini, you can rent a house, you can rent all this kind of stuff to make it appear that you're
The
that
image. Yeah,
deep inside, like, you're not that person. So you're a fraud by putting it on in front of people so that they will buy whatever the hell it is that you're selling. So when it comes to wealth creation, yes, when I first started and I was, in the face of it all, and okay, well, I really wanted a Range Rover when I first got started in the crypto space. And man, I worked my butt off trading, I worked my butt off helping people to the point of I paid cash for the very first Range Rover I bought. It was 160 or 180,000, whatever it was,
nice.
2017. But I'd worked my butt off when I made my first million. So I'm like, man, I deserve it. Like, I'd worked really hard to get to that point, and I wanted it for me, right? I wanted it for me, and then I thought this would also be good for my appearance because people know I'm real, I'm doing it. But it's the worst decision that I ever made. To be honest, like, paying cash for a liability was the worst
Mm,
decision that I made. I could have left that, kept that in Bitcoin, that 160 grand that I spent when Bitcoin was 20 grand a piece. Well, we talking 8 Bitcoin? What's that worth? $1 million car right now? You know what I mean? Like, this perception of
yeah.
needing to have this appearance because you're in the crypto space. Otherwise, why should I follow you? Why should I believe you? Right. So that was
And
the first dumb mistake. When I went and sold that car, it wasn't too bad. I still got 100 grand for it. It was just the stupidest thing that I did. And then I went and did
it
another
sounds
stupid
like a bad trade, a
That's
bad
like
spot.
a bad trade. And then the next thing that I did was thinking that, okay, well, at the time it was MBA and MBA was doing well. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy another family car. Let's upgrade the Range Rover. And then I bought a $250,000 BMW V8 X7. as a family car. Like, you know what? You know the problem is you walk in. I was like, man, I like the look of BMW. It had awesome tech. It was a new car. I walked in and I'm like, show us this X7 because we got kids. I would, and at the end of the day, my heart was still like, if I buy a Lamborghini or something like that, I'm selfish, or a Ferrari. Whereas I'm still very family orientated because I want my family to enjoy the experience with me. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just
Everything's family these days, eh? Everything.
100%, bro.
110%.
And when I walked into BMW and I'm like, man, I want to buy this car. And he's like, cool, it's 150 grand. I'm like, that's the diesel. I'm like, I'll drive it. And then he's like, it may not be what you want, but you should try the V8 as well. I'm like,
Uh,
show me the V8. And when
See, this is the 5 to the 10x leverage, eh? Just try the
this is the
10x,
five
bro.
credit coverage, right? So
It's
again,
juicier.
I went from 140,000 for a family car sedan, or 150,000,
Family.
$250,000 BMW. That was the worst decision that I made once again,
Yeah.
right? So these luxuries, while nice to have, are not
Mm.
it's not smart business ideas. And the problem is that the perception on social media is that you need to have a nice car to perceive value of what it is that you're actually
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
not historical data. Because show you trading history for quite some time and go, this is actually what I'm doing. No, what car do you drive, or where do you live, or show me your house, or what holidays have you been in? Do you fly business? Do you fly first class? All this kind of
Yeah.
rubbish. I'm like, man, that's what the problem is with the crypto space. And it's just the exposure to that in order to lure people in. And to the person that doesn't know any better, when you see that, you see opportunity, you see possibility, you see all this kind of
See
stuff.
wealth.
You see
These
wealth.
people are oozing wealth. I want what they have. What are they doing? How do I get, and I mean, you're 100% right. And this is only scraping the surface, you know. This is
Yeah.
scraping, like, these are old school tactics now, like 2025. Have you seen the stuff that people do now? Like,
Yeah, man, like
um,
it's crazy to the levels that they go to now. So yeah, even going back to that, like, man, scrap the cars. My wealth creation plan is, via obviously crypto as opportunity, but
yeah,
property. Like, we just bought a house in the Philippines, Airbnb, just opportunity in different areas, but also in a location next to mum and dad's house. So in 10, 15 years down the track, if we decide that we want to retire there, we've got a house there as well. So I'm thinking
yeah,
really long term more so than short term gratification, right? And that's the hard thing. Like, that's something I wish I learned back in 2017 when I first got exposed to money, um, and trading and doing all that. That I wish that there was more people telling me, right? Because when I'm the guy that's telling people about the space, I'm also not thinking about, sometimes you're not thinking about your own personal wealth creation. And in my eyes, I'm like, well, I want this car. I've earned it. I'll buy it. And I'm like, I wasn't even
yeah, yeah,
like, and now it's like, that's like, cool. Having, fast cars and luxury cars is nice, but I would rather have, acquire wealth through property and investments and other things like that before having the Lambo, the luxury car and all that. And when, like you said, like, if the Lambo is 1% of your wealth, then you're doing it right. Right? If it's
yeah,
1%. So that means that if it's 1%, which is, let's call it 400,000, 500,000, um, man, you're talking millions of dollars in your bank. But that's how it should be if you're buying a
yeah.
$500,000 car to drive on the road, where if you need
I
new
just,
brakes and it costs you 50 grand to replace the brakes, it doesn't hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, there's,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
can't imagine a situation where I would ever want a car like that anyway. Like we were just saying before about like family's everything. For
yeah,
me, like a nice, big, comfortable SUV, family holidays, having time with the kids. That to me, like, you people get brought in by this thought of a Lamborghini. But in reality, I think, for someone who does have a family looking in, it might be, if I've got a Lamborghini, I also have everything else for my family, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I couldn't, like, I always talk about Toyota Corollas in all my calls when I compare like NFTs and non-fungible and fungible tokens.
yeah.
Toyota Corolla and a family vehicle would would be all that I would ever need. I would much prefer to see consistent gains, keeping my family away from jobs, right? So I can educate my kids, have a good upbringing for those. I think that's just it just weighs so much more, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
but hey, just getting onto some juicy stuff here. So, like, obviously, being led into the industry by these what's it like perception of wealth.
Mm.
Look at some of the Jason. We've talked about this before, but and I look, I've probably haven't got the best name on Facebook because I always come across as this negative Nancy because when people post trades, I always ask and say, "Hey, can you show me the full trade or the full account, please?" Not one person's been able to
Yeah.
step forward and show me.
And I get that, like I get the people wanting to be private. Like I've always been private, and only recently I showed, one of my trading accounts
Yeah,
by launching Trader's Edge. But other than that, like I've always been private. But people know from time to time I randomly expose something, and I'll say, this is what's happening. This is my accounts for certain things. And I get the privacy of things, but the problem is with what's happening in the space is it's not so much the privacy because I get people want to protect their wealth and protect who they are and all that kind of stuff, but it's the perception of doing so well as a trader by showing these huge percentage gains in
yeah,
order, once again, to lure people into whatever it is that you're trying to sell.
the product. Yeah, yeah,
So when we talk about huge percentage gains, I'm talking people that share screenshots of 150, 200, 300, 400, 500% gains in a single trade.
single trade. Yeah,
And while that is possible, if you really look behind it and you think about the possibility of what it'd be like to consistently make 500%, 300% on trades, you don't need a lot of money before you get to $1 million quick, right? The reality is most of these trades where they're 300%, 400%, all these kind of crazy numbers are usually done on high leverage, whether it be 20x, 50x, exposing that, but then to a point of being a $5 trade or a $10 trade or a $100 trade, because
yeah.
the purpose of them getting those high percentage gains is once again, the perception of showing people how well they're doing trading
Mm,
to expose that, hey, I made 300% on this single trade. But the reality is no, you made $5 on that trade. But
yes.
it has no emotional connection to you because how many losing trades did you lose at minus 300% that you don't want to show, right? You just want to show the huge percentage gains of
Yeah.
200%, 300%.
It's a lure. It's a piece. It's on the end of a fishing rod, and it's made to lure in a particular type of client. Just recently, I think it was a few weeks ago, we had a chat the other day, and I was telling you about this. And there was one particular person, not going to obviously name and shame, on Facebook, and over the course of like a couple of months, like, as soon as you get a bull run, you get all these people coming out of nowhere that have been in the industry since the first Bitcoin transaction, right? And this particular person was putting all these trades, and I spreadsheeted them, and I worked out that over the last, I think it was like 3 months, if this particular person started with $100, looking at all of the compounding trades that they had done, they'd have been worth something like 50 mil, right? And I messaged on a Facebook, and I was like, man, you must be like the best trader ever. Like, he's like, oh, thanks, bro. Like, and then yeah, we got into a bit of a discussion after that, but the point is that what Jason's saying is completely right, right? You can
It's
go on
another,
and can do
just an, it's
100x
another,
leverage with $1, and that becomes, that's $100. So you go from $1 to 100, and you only need to do that like what 4 or 5 trades, and you're at a mil. It's
yeah.
crazy.
And that's the reality of it is that it's that kind of consistency just it's not real. Like
No,
when I shared, with what I don't when I was doing the Trader's Edge, you trading one strategy, over the last 14 months and recording the data of it is not me trading every day, right? And it's just growth over a period of time that shows
yeah,
consistency, right? So that shows, over a period of time, this is what you've done. It's not singular trades where I go, hey, it's 300% I make on one trade. No, it's compound effect over 14, 15 months. Now, even at that, it's quite hard to do because you have the wins, the loss, the wins, the loss, but you kind of have this gradual growth effect. And I think that's just, what I really want people to understand is that,
mm,
in the space to be a successful trader. Now, it's not to say that you can't get lucky in the crypto space because thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people get lucky in the crypto space where they put in $1,000 and then turn into 50 grand. That happens.
Gambling. Yeah.
Well, it's the reality, man. It happens, and there's so many people that get exposed to it that it happens over and over again. So though that is right? That can happen. You can get lucky. You can make lots of money just doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a spot trader and you just want to invest and hold and make money that way, cool. My thing against the space is the lure, right? It's why
Yes.
why do you need
100% the
to
same.
lure people in? Like people would
Mm.
rather see that you go from 1,000 to 10,000 and it took you a year to do it, but these are the steps that you did to take it, rather than go, I made 300% today, I made 300% today, I made 300% today. It's like, well, man, you must be a millionaire. Why are you trying to sell me something?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Because I
And
love it.
because I love it. Well, that for me, like to be honest, like man, I took a break away from teaching. And it was just something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed being on stage and teaching hundreds of people how to trade. And over the last year and the year before that, while that was good, and I'd traveled to I think it was 13 countries teaching, hundreds of people how to trade. I miss my family, man. I miss being
Yeah.
like they went on a couple of trips, but every 2 weeks get up and leave. Like, it was seemed
Rough.
there was something always happening. Like, we went to so many different places to teach to the point of, man, what's important? Why am I doing what I'm doing? It's like, well, isn't it time? Like, isn't that the number one currency? Like, isn't that where you need to be the most wealthy is time because we
100%.
can't
Yeah.
get it back, right? You can have tens of millions of dollars and have no time and then be 60 and go, what do I do with my life? Because I have all this money and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even seeing my kids or hanging out with the kids or doing anything. And that really
It's a
changed.
daily thought, man. It's a daily
It,
thought for sure.
it's changed my whole perspective. And
Yeah.
while creating wealth is important for your family, they should be there for the journey. Like they should be there for the ride. They should be part of that, right? To the best of your ability, they should, you include them along the ride. Otherwise, you lose that currency. You lose that
Yeah.
time. You
It's a
outweigh.
hard balance. Yeah.
Well, the reality
Because
is, man, trying to create wealth is never balanced. Like you can't
it's
try
hard.
you can't try to create wealth and have family balance. One's always sacrificed, right? It's always the measuring pot of how do I give a little bit here and give a little bit here. Well, one is always sacrificing. You're either making
Mm.
lots of money and you're not having time for your family, or you have heaps of time for your family when you could be making money, right?
Just quickly on that note, right? So what you're saying there is 100% right. It's a balance, and like just very quickly before, I don't want to be on my deathbed and make and have regrets and say, you know what, I became that very thing I didn't want to become. I wanted to spend time with my family. But Jason, right? Just think about this for a second, right? Making money, correct me if you feel differently, but making money in the crypto space is hard. Um it takes discipline, it takes patience. And the thing that I hate about the industry at the moment is it gets painted as, hey, this is easy. You can do a 300%, 1,000% trade. In reality, it's not. It's actually really hard. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, I'm willing to show you how because me and you make money very differently. Like, and
Still,
I can vouch. I remember coming to Townsville before I'd even really got really deep into TA, and I remember sat in front of your computer, and you were showing me some breakout trades. That seems to be your thing. It was like breakouts and maybe some triangle at the time, but very much breakouts. And you were like, man, this strategy and you were showing me, and for years after that, I don't know if it's still the same if you still love the breakout stuff. But I incorporate a little bit of that into my stuff. But listen to this, right? This isn't so with the cycle trading stuff that I do, it over a 4 year period, I usually say a five up to a 10x, right? Sometimes it's a 20, but over 4 years, a 10x isn't exciting. 4 years, people look at it and they go, 4 years. They look at the 10x, they don't look at the 4 years. They don't look at the psychological up and down. They don't look at what the psychology is like at the bottom, what the psychology is like at the top. Let me tell you, and breaking the silence, right? Making money is hard.
Yeah, no, trading is the hardest place in the world to jump into an industry and think you're going to get rich overnight, and that is
Yeah,
the
no,
social media at the
poor
moment.
overnight. That's easy.
And
100x.
even with what I trade now and the strategies that I teach and all that, man, like even understanding that to a T, the technical side is the easy part. Getting
Mm,
your head right. is the hard part.
Yeah.
Risk management is the hard part.
It's everything in it. Yeah.
And the strategy that I'm teaching now, like, is based on mechanical trading. So I'm trying to remove as much emotion as possible and giving you a set criteria that if this checks off, then you enter. If it doesn't check off, you don't enter, right? It's more about creating that way where I'm trying to help you by removing that emotion. It doesn't mean that, once you learn from me, you're going to get it next week. It's going to be you testing that theory over a long period of time. And
Yeah.
the reality is that some people get it in 30 days. Some people take years and are still trying to work it out or get it. And that's just each person as their own is different, the way they think and feel towards money, because that is the only disconnection between something that works and something that doesn't work. It's not because the strategy doesn't work,
Mm.
because it doesn't work for you because of how you think and feel towards the moment you hit the buy button or the sell button, right?
You might spend years sitting on the sideline and go, right, I know what I'm doing. Second you put any money on it, hard-earned money, it goes to shit. Yeah.
Bro, I had this one student a couple of years ago. He was an engineer, very analytical as engineers have to be, right? Everything to
Yeah.
the he had the best spreadsheets, the most amazing plans. He paper traded, and he was
Yeah.
awesome as a paper trader. He would like take trades, and things would be, you know, he'd be an 80% win rate, right? He's just taking trades. I was like, so man, like, why do you need coaching from me? Like, you obviously got it worked out. You're an 80% win rate. You're profitable as a paper trader. He's like, I can't put money on the line. I was like, how much money you make? He's like, I make about 400 grand a year, which is why I pay you what I pay you. But at the same time, it's his psychology. The moment
Yeah.
he had fear of getting it wrong by having real money on the line, even if he had money to lose,
Yeah.
he couldn't do it. He was just worried about being
Yeah.
analytical, being an engineer. Everything has to be to the T. And we got him to a point of like, mate, let's just put $1,000 into an account. All right, let's just start there. Let's just work on something very small. And I don't even want you to do the analysis. I just want you to hit the buy or the sell button. It doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. And then he did, and he's like, but what do we do now, Jay? It's like, I'm winning, I'm losing. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? What's the outcome?
Poor guy.
I was
Yeah.
like, hey, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right?
You're learning.
We're taking the very first step of you placing a trade and being okay with the outcome. And
Yeah.
it's one of the topics that I wanted to put out there is I'm going to teach you how to lose. And people are going to be like, what do you mean you're going to teach me how to lose? No, because I'm going to teach you how to lose the right
Yeah.
way. The problem is everyone's so focused on winning,
Yeah.
they forget how to lose properly. And what I
Yep.
mean by losing properly is you're either a sore loser, you revenge trade,
Or you learn.
you lose
Yeah.
and you don't have good risk management. You gamble because you heard crypto whale 312 say that it's going to go up. Like all these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
don't teach you how to lose. People are trying to sell you on how to win.
Yeah.
What if I teach you how to lose? What would that do for your psychology, man? It just flips a screw in your head. It's like, man, I don't want to learn from you. But the reality is, if you learn how to lose properly, you'll be able to win 10 times better. Like that's the reality, man. Like,
Yeah. Imagine being a professional pool player, right? But the thing is, you can't lose. As soon as you lose, like you're out the game. You're like you've never played pool before, but you're going to be the best in the world, but you can't lose. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a you have to lose. Failure is part of the process. There's no like that the word failure to me, and probably especially yourself, maybe it doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you have to. With postmortems, I know it's a lot of people like postmortems, but a postmortem is every time you do something, right? You write up a document and explain how could it be better, what could I have done, what went wrong, what went right, like warm, cold feedback. I think it's that very much that process that you're talking about, where if you lose a trade, it's okay as long as you lose it properly by looking at why you lost the trade and learning from it, right?
yeah,
It's so important. Yeah, 100%.
that's and what does it all tie back to? Losing, knowing how to lose comes back to your psychology, man. Like
Yeah,
that's where people look at trading and go, man, this is too hard. It's not possible. Nobody makes money trading. And the whole myth of 97% of people lose when it comes to trading. Yes, actually not 97%, 100% of people lose money when it comes to trading.
yeah,
It's whether or not you can flip it to be at least profitable enough for you to make money from it, right? Like
Yeah.
100% you'll lose money. Anyone that's told you that and this another thing that gets me is the coaches out there that say they don't lose. The coaches out there that are saying I'm invincible. The coaches that claim all this kind of rubbish of,
But they don't lose though, mate, because their subscriptions obviously keep their trades, flowing.
that's another topic to talk about.
Hey, this is why I'm in prison. Nah, hey, just quickly, one of the things we wanted to talk about is we just wanted to give you a bit of be be precautious around the meme coins this cycle. Me and
Yeah,
Jason were having a good discussion, and I'll just quickly talk briefly about the market caps. I had a discussion the other day about some altcoins, and someone was saying, "But look, it's only like it's only half of what it was last cycle, right? We haven't even hit the all-time high." And I said, "Well, hang on a second. When you look at the circulation, what's been released into circulation, and then we take a look at the market cap of that coin is higher. It just means that there's a lot more coins in circulation. So we actually already technically have broken on some of these altcoins. We've already broken the new all-time high. It's just because there's more in circulation. Like if me and Jason had $100 between us, and Jason went, you know what, I'm just gonna add in an extra $50 and give it to myself. There's now $150 in circulation, and I'm poorer because Jason's giving himself the $50. I hope that makes sense. But yeah,
yeah,
we were just talking about there's another way to look at it as well with the meme coins. I think there was 270 meme coins in 2021. And now we've got, what is it, 40, 50,000 a day popping up a day, you
yeah.
know?
So, well, some data that I'd seen is that we'd had 3 million coins in the last bull run to now having 36 million.
Yeah, yeah,
And just seeing that data and the amount of and the reality is that it's going to continue. It'll
yeah,
continue while it's hot and then when it flips, it usually flips when people start losing money, right? It's like no more meme coins. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars. Like that tends to be the cycle. It's like NFTs, right? NFTs to the point of, whoever that guy was that bought that NFT for $69 million. Do you think he's happy about his investment unless there was a shady deal that was kind of happening and why he paid so much for it?
pretty good picture.
But at the same time, that monkey that was that crazy monkey that went viral and just like all the celebrities bought
Is that
this
the
chip
Justin
or
Bieber one?
something. Sorry?
That's
Yeah,
Justin Bieber, the ape, bought ape yacht
yeah,
club or
Bored
something.
Ape. Yeah, Bored Ape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Even thinking about that, like at one point, those were millions of dollars, crazy to be in part of this
yeah,
exclusive NFT group. And then now, what are they worth? Cents of the dollar.
yeah,
There's many things that during a period of, while it's hot, it's good. You jump into it, you might make some money. If you don't sell at the right time, right, then obviously you're going to hold it and you might lose money. It's like all these different things that pop up, whether now it's like meme coins. Yes, there'll be people that make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars with limited to no money. But the
yeah,
reality is it's not sustainable. So if you're gonna gamble or jump into that space, then that's literally what it is. Like you're literally gambling, and it's no different to going to the casino. It's no different to going to the track. It's no different to betting on basketball or anything else like that. You're literally having a gamble. And because of so many new coins popping up, one thing I would say is like don't get distracted by when people go, oh, it's 0.00001 now, and it's going to go up to 0.0010, and you're going to make 10x your money because you still need the ability to sell it. It's
yeah.
about
The
it
liquidity, yeah, yeah, yeah,
liquidity. And the problem with a lot of these meme coins and having so many meme coins is we got all the same buyers, right? All the same buyers are still currently in the market. So we got millions and millions of meme coins and not enough liquidity to be able to
yeah.
buy in and then sell out, right? Or
It's like
there's
it,
conditions now. That's another thing that we're seeing a lot of is conditions. Like you got to hold it for the first 3 months,
oh,
a year,
like
or
Safe Moon sort of style, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like there's a lot of things coming out with conditions, and man,
Safe Moon can't follow, Jason, because you get tax. Remember that? It can't tank. It can't be rug pulled. Yeah, I
yeah.
think like yeah, I mean adding to that, I don't touch meme coins, I'll be honest. I think I've got a bit of Pepe, and that is my gamble, right? Like I'll take a thousand, $5,000 gamble in a cycle, but that is it. I am a Bitcoin maximalist and I dabble in altcoins.
Mm,
So we one of the platforms that I educate on, we there's some people who are trying to make money in a short period of time, like we've talked about, they're asking me about meme coins. And the one thing I can say is that if you're like, and this isn't financial advice, this is just me giving my opinion, but if you're dead serious about trading long term, right? Number one, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself, right? Like learn the process, learn the psychology, patience and discipline. Patience and discipline are like my two big things. If someone says to me like, you know, how can I get started? How can I make money? What are the things I should be focusing on? Discipline. If you can't show discipline, you are going to pull out of trades left, right, and center. You're going to get into the wrong trades on the thought that essentially you're just gambling at that stage. You're not using your technical analysis, and then um, leveraging off of your psychology essentially. So
Yeah. Well, the problem with meme coins, man, like NFTs, like anything else, there is no technical analysis. There is you getting in and getting out
yeah,
at
can't
time.
backtest them.
There is no data other than news or data that will
Yeah,
determine if it's going up or down, or you get rug pulled,
other
right?
other than Trump's family, like he's was it what's his partner called? His wife? What's it?
Elaine,
Sorry. Yeah,
Elaine,
yeah, the Millennium coin, and then there's the Baron coin, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I just stick to Bitcoin with the cycles, and I, I I'm very stress free in my approach these days. Like you said, over a long period of time, like I say, a 4x or sorry, a 5x over 4 years doesn't sound like a lot, but I could comfortably put in 100, 200 more thousand, and the chances of there's a less impact because I'm not going to get liquidated, or it's
yeah.
very unlikely to get liquidated. That's
Like,
stressful, man.
yeah, 100%, man. Like trading, trading is definitely something that will test your psychology. Like there is
Yeah,
no to it. So, I mean, if you've got the desire, the passion, the want, the drive to actually learn, and it's more than just money. And that's the one thing I used to tell my students over the years, man. If the only reason why you're in the trading or crypto space is because of money, that's the fastest way that you're going to quit.
yeah,
Why?
fast to lose.
The moment you lose, that's it, you're done. The moment that you have a
Yeah,
couple of losses, you hate the industry. The moment that you lose a big chunk of cash, it's a scam. The reality is it's not a scam. You just didn't take the time, the patience
yeah,
work through all that. And yeah,
yeah.
in the space there's going to be good and bad investments, but
All
you
the
know,
promises of the Ferraris weren't actually accurate.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't get
Hey,
the
what's your opinion on signal services?
Well, man, I always had this theory on signal services over the last last few years. And while some people are good, like some signal services are great and you can make money, the reality is it does nothing for you as a trader. And
Yeah,
what I mean by that is the moment that those signals stop and you haven't learned anything from it, then the reality is you're back to square one. Right. So I remember when I first started trading and losing money and making money, I thought, oh, well, and that's how I got exposed to Bitcoin is, jumping into a signal service. So all I have to do is press the buy and the sell button and I can make money. And while you do for some, unless you take every single trade, which sometimes maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day, which also may, be once every couple of days. But the reality is
yeah,
the moment that you stop, so does your income. So signal services, while they may seem, if you find a good one, may seem like they're a good thing, but they're a bad thing for learning how to trade in the sense
yeah.
that there's no explanation, if there's no chart analysis, if there's no reason as to why someone's getting into the market, you're simply entering in blind. So what are you really
Blind, yeah.
you're simply gambling again. Like taking a signal services, you're essentially gambling with the blame of someone else. It's not I didn't take that trade. Well, you did. It's your money, but you followed someone else. So now you have someone else to blame, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think in the last 8 years of trading and teaching people, I never offered a signal service because I never wanted people to go, well, I'm entering a buy or a sell now because Jason said so.
yeah,
Anytime I showed people what I was doing or how I was trading, there was an explanation behind it because I genuinely want you to learn so that when I'm not here or when you're no longer with me, you've actually learned something. You've actually taken the time to understand why I would enter into the market or why someone would enter into the market based on these criteria, right? So signal services, sure, you can make money if you find a good one and while you continue doing it. But at the end of the day, once that stops, And if you spend 2 years, think about this, you jump into a signal service, you're making good money. You make $1,000 a month, a couple of $1,000 a month, whatever it is. And you do that for 2 years and you build your lifestyle around this signal service because it's so awesome. And the person that you're following all of a sudden stops, they quit, they move on, they do other things.
They make it 10 times
Lifestyle,
more expensive.
or they make it 10 times more expensive. Now your lifestyle is built around someone else or being dependent on someone else when you could have spent the last 2 years actually doing the work and
Learning. Yeah.
winning and going through the grind and winning and losing
Yeah.
yourself, understand what it is and how they do it. Because that's the one thing that trading is that as long as you're dependent on someone else, you will never be a trader. You'll like, sure,
Same as
learn
a job, right?
like a job. Like,
Yeah.
sure, learn from someone that's done it in your industry, go through that process. But signals are just it's just a delayed process of you becoming better at your at trading. Right?
And that's the rare ones that actually are successful too, right?
Yeah, there's a
Again,
lot.
people can make all these promises and then go, oh, look, this year I haven't really had a good spree, but next year,
Yeah,
you're already 50K down, man. I think
yeah,
being at the mercy of being at the mercy of a subscription like that, for me, I think that obviously you've got the fact that they could change their subscription model if they're doing well. They could just vanish off the face of the planet. And the other thing as well is you're not truly financially independent. You're
yeah,
just not. Like, you're reliant on somebody else. You're reliant on somebody. Firstly, you're paying them, right? It's not, there's no
yeah.
signals that are
There's
free.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, like if I'm gonna offer anything like that, I'm gonna be going, okay, guys, I'm not telling you here is not a signal that goes buy at $2,000, sell at $2,500. If ever I'm going to show you something or some kind of way, it's going to be here is a chart. Here is what's happened historically. Here is the information that you need to understand. This is the reason based on these 5 criteria as to why I would enter into the market. Now, at the end of the day, if you decide you want to, cool, that's absolutely fine. But if you
Mm,
don't, this is what I'm doing, right? And the reason why I structure it that way is, like I said, man, like you need to understand where you're placing your money and not because you're blindly following a signal that says buy or sell. So,
yeah.
I've thought about that, and it's kind of, I do live calls and I show people my analysis and walk them through the process, but I'm doing that from a teacher student education point so that you then go, actually, that makes sense. Like now I would enter because I understand why I'm entering into the market, not
Yeah.
because
You justify it. Yeah.
and that's the thing, like, and this is where, over the last 8 years, I've trained, close to 30,000, if not over 30,000 people in person, on calls, in masterminds, in all these different ways. And I know the difference of the difference of student that comes past. Jason, show me the answer. No, you're out. Like this, you don't, it's not the way to learn. It's like
Yeah.
just tell me when to enter. Well, I know you're gonna fail.
We've all been a bad student at some part of our life. We all wanted
But
the
it's
answers on a plate, right?
the ones that stick around that go, okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. I know why you're doing that. I've seen it 100 times. Cool. Now go and do it yourself. Right? It's
Yeah.
not, yeah, and again, that's the industry where
And you watch them fail and deal with the failure and then action the failure properly rather than just go, it's not for me. Because as soon as you give up, you've given up. Like, there's the only time it's like say Bitcoin, really. You know, if you sell into a negative, then that's on you, right? The
Mhm.
only time that you fail essentially is when you give up. If you are
Yeah,
persistent and you master it and you're patient, like I say, patience, I love that word, and discipline, but patience, like for me, especially over 4 years, it does take a lot of effort to not get involved in the noise, right? That's the effort part.
yeah,
The second that you give up, gone.
yeah.
All that hard work's gone. So
The exposure, going back a little bit to the exposure of the industry to crypto and so forth, is the psychology of trading and the psychology of Bitcoin and crypto over the last how many years. It's interesting to see that the amount of people that bought at the highs and sold at the lows versus had you have just held it in historically, if you were to buy Bitcoin anytime prior before $100,000, you made money. The reality is
yeah,
that, perfect example of what you talk about with the cycle trader is like buying at $20,000, but then not having the psychology at $3,000 to hold it when we drop back down to then surpassing $20,000 up to, you know, $60,000 to then dropping back down to $30,000. Like the psychology that messes with people, where people think that, no, it's nothing to do with psychology. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. Well, that's the reason why you're emotionally screwed, is because like,
I would argue that cycle trading is more than 95% psychology, because you do technical analysis, you get into it, but like the stuff you're just saying there, you're not just like, when you do a day trade or even a week trade or something, or for yourself, like I've seen you take trades over a month, especially the really good breakout juicy ones um, that you've done really well with. Those ones, even a month of the psychology, right, is when you do the cycle trading stuff. For me, I mean, I'm accustomed to it now, but it's over years,
yeah,
years. It can take years to build profits. But I really emphasize on mine, Jason, it's a lot easier to buy in cheaper than it is to sell at the top. It's easier to get in the bottom than it is to get in the sell out at the top.
100%,
And that's
man.
like and so
And
everything's built around, like I said to you from QPS, right? I don't like stress, right? I don't like living my life as a stressful person. Yes, it's certainly stressful at times, but the trading method is the least amount of stress, the least amount of noise. Noise is the biggest factor, and patience in the yeah. So yeah, I mean, we should probably give some advice to our followers, to give them some little golden nuggets before we close off the call. And I think I'll probably start with I think obviously it's breaking the silence, and I think we both share the passion for really talking about the shit that's going on in the industry now, like the basic caution against the hype-driven trading. So be really careful about what you're seeing. If you're seeing people with high percentages, like put it this way, right? And I'm a big believer in this. If someone's trying to sell you a product, right, and they are posting post after post after post of crazy high gains, and they're trying to pull you into something, right? Then I think it's fair that you should be able to ask unquestionably and say, can you provide some evidence of that trading? Because if I'm about to spend $1,200 a month, $1,000 a month, $20,000, $10,000 on a training course, do I have the right to see what I'm buying into? I think I do. Like you said, me and Jason, right, we're more than happy to share our results. I do on a weekly basis now when I get new students come through. I'll do a one-on-one call and show them, like it's for me, I know it sounds stupid, but it's really not hard to show a 5 or 10x over a cycle consistently. And with Jason, like I've seen your results, Jason. So there's only one or two traders who I really respect in the space, and you're one of them. Um, so with the Trader's Edge stuff, and the one trading strategy, I think it's important that you are able to give students really good results. And yeah, so that's my, like I said, I just wanted to give a bit back and sort of closing statements.
and I guess for me to just add to that is look beyond the flashy stuff. Like
Yeah.
like, yes, it's natural as wanting something that you don't have, right? If you see something, you like it, you want it, cool, but you need
Mm.
to look beyond that to see what the real product is. Like what is the offering behind all that? Like where, it's easy to be lured in by that kind of stuff. And anyone can do it. Like I said, you can rent a Lambo, you can rent a house, you can rent a car, rent a plane, you can do anything these days, if you have a little
Yeah.
bit, but you just got to look beyond that, and be careful what it is that you're jumping into. And even for me, man, like I'm starting something that it's just I don't need hundreds of people. I don't. It doesn't bother me if I have 10 people, if I have 20 people, because I'm not
It's
focused.
better with 10, right? It's
Yeah,
better.
I'm not focused on making the money from
Mm.
people there. And this is another thing that before we end it, there's another thing where I wanted to touch on is people like always like over the years, Jason, why don't you just give away your stuff for free? It's like, well, there's two things. I value my time, and you will take it for granted if I do give it for free. Like it's two very things. I noticed the difference in customer between the customers that pay for a mastermind and how eager they are to learn and be privately coached and me answer all the questions for them versus a guy that's just drifting along and going, oh yeah, that's cool, and that's it. Like you don't take anything serious. But if I have a blueprint to show you exactly how I made my first $1 million in trading, and if I could show you how to do it, and if you follow these exact steps, because that's all
Yeah.
I'm doing, I'm just showing you exactly what I do. And if you did that, you could have that as well, but you won't pay for it because you think it's a scam or you think of whatever it is. It's like I got nothing to scam you with. I'm simply showing you my results. And if you follow, you could also have those results too. So, I charge for my services because again, time's my most valued commodity,
It's
right?
time away from your family, man. Like you
It's
can't
time
pay me
away from
enough
family.
to
It's time
take.
away from
Yeah,
doing what
you
I
just
want to do.
can't.
So sure, I'm going to charge for my time. And if I'm building a community or a strategy, it's going to cost you money. The reason why I'm happy and I will say that is because if you invest in yourself, you will actually take the time to learn. If you have zero investment in yourself, then you ain't going to take it serious. Like I've given away so many different strategies over the years that have worked and had students make really good money. But then there's so many people that look at it and go, oh, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't, it's free. It's right there. It's free. Right.
Yeah,
So I always
but
think,
piece it together.
I always think about when I'm launching something or starting something is that should I just give it away for free because I enjoy the process of teaching? I always over deliver when I give stuff out. Like it's not just about, what you're paying for. I want to really help you
Yeah,
see you guys win. But at the same time, I want you to be serious. Otherwise, you're wasting my time. You're wasting my time, your time. Like, why?
yeah. My family's time. Yeah, I love seeing people get results, especially like with the entirety of the episode has been about essentially the fakes in the industry. And when people go there, once bitten, twice shy, and it's like I love getting people who just like, oh, it's a scam. It's like, no, man, like I could like stick with me, right? I could show you how to make some money. I love that. I love that. And just touching to add to what you were just saying, Jason, time away from my family is going to cost you, right? And it's like, if anything, it's like severely cheap. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, this is a bit.
I have a bit of a catch-22 though with the cycle stuff because when we do the focus groups and the money essentially that I charge for the cycle trading stuff actually goes into my cycle pot. So
Mm.
when I'm going through the trade, through the cycle, they know where that money is, and I'm like, well, if I can't make money with the money you're paying me to show you how to make money, then I also lose it. So it's really good because they can see where it's going, and they're in the same game as well. And yeah, but yeah, look, it comes down to time away from family. That is the number one thing for me. If I didn't have a family, then it'd be more just to put food in my mouth while I did the thing that I love the most in the world, which is teaching and trading. So, Jason, what a wicked episode. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we close it up?
That's it. Let's wrap it up there for the
Yep.
very first episode of Breaking the Silence.
Yeah, and we'll catch you guys for episode 2. Thanks again. My name's Liam Watson. Jason Grigg. Catch you later.
You guys.